Hey,
Assalamu
hey.
alaikum. Wow.
Alaikum salam.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
yeah. Sometimes these
So
technical difficulties get us, but finally we are on live, so we're good.
yes, so I see me, but I don't see you.
Okay. I'm not sure what's the issue, but I see you and I hear you, and if you don't mind, we can continue. Hopefully, I will come up on your screen at some point.
Inshallah.
Okay, so you are fine to continue.
Yes, although I would have loved to see you, but alhamdulillah, that works.
I hope it will come up for you.
Inshallah.
So,
Inshallah.
okay, so let me introduce you again. So this is Dr. Aneesah Nadir. She's a social worker for 40 years. She's also a retired professor at ASU, which is Arizona State University, where she taught social work for 17 years. She is the president of the Islamic Social Services Association USA, which will be celebrating its 20th anniversary on April 20, 2019. She was also presented recently the Pioneer Award from the Muslim Wellness Foundation and the last year Lifelong Community Service Award from ISNA. Welcome, Dr. Aneesah Nadir.
Thank you.
Tell
Sorry for
me
the
more
technical
about,
difficulties.
no
It's
problem. You know, things happen.
have
What can we do?
I have a love-hate relationship with technology.
Oh, okay. So when we send these vibes, actually, it's okay. So let's start. Tell us more about yourself, about your career and your journey.
Alhamdulillah. First of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most beneficent, the merciful. Thank you so much, Rabab, for inviting me to be on this live with you and to be part of the Days of Confidence. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. I am currently at the Islamic Community Center of Tempe, which is the the second mosque built in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm in the library because I have another meeting afterwards. So that's part of my life, and part of my life is being an active community member. But as you said earlier, I've been a social worker for 40 years. I love social work. I've had the opportunity to practice social work largely in the area of prevention. I'm a prevention specialist. So I have been engaged in addressing issues from a preventive perspective and early intervention perspective over my career. Um, eh, Substance abuse prevention, teenage pregnancy prevention, child abuse prevention, domestic violence prevention, and then as of late, post retirement, I have been engaged in uh, addressing premarital issues. So promoting healthy marriage as a preventive area, and also preventive legal services. My daughter is an attorney. I've partnered with my daughter, and we are working in that arena as well. And so those are basically the areas that I like to focus on.
Wonderful. And how do you see these areas, the connection or the correlation between these areas and promoting wellness and well-being among the community?
So I see them as very key aspects. We can certainly address issues once there is a problem. We can certainly deal with a crisis, but I think that when we start to address issues from a preventive perspective, we it's so much better. We promote resilience. We address the protective factors in people's lives, in anywhere from the infant all the way up to the older person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that prevention for me brings is a strength-based perspective. It's a way of addressing wellness and building confidence in people way before there are problems. And I think we don't do enough of that.
So about being proactive, if you will.
Yes, it is all about being proactive. It's about addressing the problems that we may face, whether it be a mental health problem, whether it be a family issue. And oftentimes, and this may just be the way I'm wired, but uh, I tend to think, what could we have done to prevent that issue from 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 going blowing out. My daughter, the attorney, talks about addressing things at the sniffles before it becomes pneumonia. And so from a social work and mental health perspective, whenever we can address things early, at a sniffle, at a little cough, before it gets to be a blown out issue, I think it's so much better for the individual and for the family and for the community.
Perfect. So before we go on, I want to reintroduce you very quickly. I want to thank Zara, Amina, Lana, everyone is watching us, Noreen, Muhammad. So please share this video. Sister Dr. Aneesah Nadir has plenty of beneficial, very nice information that everyone can benefit from. So please share that video for people to listen to. This is a very important topic that we are talking about. So again, I am here. I have Dr. Aneesah Nadir, and she's a social worker for over 40 years. And this is Rabab Alma, and we are talking about confidence and her work in social work and how she was benefiting and still benefiting the community throughout. So when you talk about being proactive, so how do you do that? What kind of methodology or approaches you take?
Would you repeat the beginning of your question?
Yes. So when we talk about being proactive and preventive, what kind of approaches do you take? What kind of path do you take to help people from different aspects of ages and different generations?
So I'll give you two examples. One area of prevention that I've been engaged in over my career and have been engaged in that from more on the volunteer end in working with the community, but it certainly fits very well with the work that I've done over the years, and that is helping to start, along with several young women, and to implement a young women's youth group or youth association. We call it Al Mutmina. It's an organization that got started here in Arizona in around 1995. And that organization was started in my living room with young women, 12, 15 years old. And that was, it was both an opportunity for leadership development. It was an opportunity for self-esteem building. It was an opportunity for social support. So all of those things are preventive and proactive activities. It developed in these young women a sense of confidence and a sense of self-esteem and a sense of their abilities to do so many things. So today, many of them are leaders both in the Arizona community as well nationally. And so that was just one way. We would have regular discussions with the young women. One of the biggest activities that we engaged in was an annual graduation program. And that graduation program was, for some women, for some of the young women, it was their prom, because many of the young women didn't attend proms. And they got to dress up, but more than that, what we did was we promoted the value of education and their accomplishments and achievements. And so it built in them a sense of self-confidence, a sense that we can tackle things in this world, even though we may be faced with issues within the society because of Islamophobia, or we may be dealing with issues related to gender, or sexism in our society, or even racism in our society. But these young women gained strength from one another, and they became a sisterhood. So that was one of the ways that we engaged in a kind of prevention. I mean, I think these were young, very, very strong young women, yes, but I think that that we wrapped kind of a protective ceiling around them because they had that support of one another. And I think that was just one of the ways that we engaged in building confidence and working proactively. So that was just one of the ways.
Wonderful.
Another
Yeah,
mhm.
go ahead.
Another strategy that we have worked on over the years, and actually we're getting ready to address again, is in the area of marriage and premarital education, premarital advisement is something that we promoted with the Islamic Social Services Association, and I promoted with my practice. I'm a premarital coach and a premarital advisor, but more than that, I'm a premarital educator. And so what I do is uh, provide marriage education courses so that anybody who is considering marriage one day down the road, whether they have someone that they are engaged to now or not, or maybe even newlywed couples, to learn about how to have a healthy marriage. What are some of the keys to a healthy marriage? What are some of the skills that they will need to be able to develop healthy marital relationships? Because we know, so oftentimes people are more focused on the wedding than they are the marriage. But
Yes.
we know that the keys to a healthy marriage, Allah tells us in the Quran, God says in the Quran that, having love, compassion, and tranquility are the keys. But how do we develop those keys? So we need the skills. And and you and I were talking about this yesterday, Rabab.
Yes.
We spend years in our education, in our college education, and so forth, developing our careers, but we don't get training in preparation for marriage and family life. And so that's another one of the areas that we focused in on, as I said, both in my professional work, but also in my volunteer work with the Islamic Social Services Association.
That's amazing because we need these preventive measures. Otherwise, I mean, you see people I see them in my practice with issues that could have been prevented if they discussed it, if they discussed the expectations and what things how they're gonna deal with different issues in their life. And then
Yes.
come years after things have been really escalated, seeking
Hmm.
help, and sometimes it ends up with divorce, unfortunately, and there are
Yeah.
children involved, and they're like, it doesn't affect only the couple, it affects both families, like we talked a couple of days ago. So again,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, go ahead. Again, I am interviewing Dr. Aneesah Nadir from Arizona, and she is a social worker for over 40 years. Please share this video. She is sharing important information for everyone to listen and to benefit from. So, uh, what do you think people can do to promote their own well-being and
Mm.
own wellness?
That's a very good question. I've been thinking about this more and more myself. As you know, it's one thing to provide this education, but it's also important to implement it myself. And so I've been thinking about this, and I think there are a number of ways we can engage in our own wellness and our own and be preventive on a number of levels. And I'm going to start with some really basic things, and that's like good nutrition. Good
Absolutely.
nutrition is so important because if we don't eat right, then we don't have the stamina, the internal fortitude that we need to be able to take good care of ourselves and to deal with the stressors that we face in life. Um, so good nutrition. Also important is exercise, and that gets the endorphins going and moving, doing what they're supposed to do naturally, and hopefully prevents us from having to take some of the medications. Now, if for those who need to take medication, then that's important for them. But for some of us, you know, it's a matter of regular exercise that can help us and get our body and our mind in a place that we need to be. I certainly believe in, of course, regular prayer and meditation, depending upon what your faith tradition is. But even for those who have established a regular prayer habit, meditation and what we're talking about now more in terms of mindfulness habits are also really very helpful. And so I think all of those are important. And I don't know if I mentioned getting good sleep. I know the days when
That's important. That's very important. Yeah.
it's so important. The days when I stay up and I don't get as enough sleep, um, I'm not myself, and I'm not able to focus well. I'm not able to carry out the activities that I would like to carry out. My mood is not good. My attitude is not the way that I want it to be. And so I think all of those aspects, these are some really basic things, but these are preventive. Another thing that's really important is having a good support system and a good network. I know here in Arizona, and when I did my dissertation, one of the things that I found out or discovered, maybe not so much, maybe it was there and I just kind of rediscovered, was the importance of having a good support system and a good network. And I called them in my dissertation, I called them fictive kin, you know, kind of like adoptive family. So many of us are located in places where their family is not here. Maybe their family is overseas. Maybe their family is like my family is on the East Coast of the United States. I'm 2,500 miles away from most of my blood relatives, but having moved to Arizona 37 years ago, I've been able to address and to develop family members, and they've become like aunties and uncles for my children, and sisters and brothers to my husband and I. And so that's been amazing for me. And so I think that that's really important to establish a strong community network, a strong supportive network of people that encourage you, that encourage you and
Yeah.
help build you up and build your confidence.
Absolutely. If we want to move forward in life, actually, we need to surround ourselves with people with like-minded,
Yes,
positive people who are supportive, people who have similar goals to us in life, so we can actually encourage each other, like what you're
yes,
saying.
absolutely.
Um, you mentioned on the call something about the
So,
legal.
can you leave the door open a little bit? It looks like the light stays on when the door is open a little bit. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. So you talked about Legal Shield, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about this project that you've started. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So that is on the preventive legal side of the work that I do. One of the things that we know is that oftentimes we have a variety of social issues, but sometimes those social issues also they bring in various legal aspects. So my daughter is an attorney, a family law and juvenile law attorney, and I'm a social worker. And so between us, we've seen a number of issues. Let's just start on the family side, from um, uh, issues related to maybe poor marital outcomes. Maybe people are considering divorce, but they don't know the best way, the healthiest way to be able to do that, and maybe they've got some issues. Maybe it's domestic violence. Maybe it's even issues related to employers that aren't treating them properly. Maybe there's some discrimination that they're dealing with. Um, Maybe there's landlord-tenant issues where they're being discriminated in that case. So there are a variety of things that we face on uh, sometimes on a daily basis. Sometimes they kind of occur, and we just don't know what to do. But what happens is we wind up experiencing a lot of stress. Because we don't have good resources. So Legal Shield is a great resource I've found. I've been working with this particular company, but also utilizing the services myself. and I found that it provides a good resource and tool to experienced attorneys in every area of the law. One of the things that we are addressing right now, this
I'm
happens
sorry
to
for
be
interruption.
National.
I'm sorry for interruption. Can we make that sure that the volume is on high? Because one of the sister here, Maida, said that she can't hear. She needs it to be a little bit louder. Um,
See what I can do about that. Hmm. That's the best that I can do. Maybe I bring it a little closer to me and
Maybe.
see you can hear. Can you hear me a little bit better?
I think, yeah, a little bit. Maida, can you tell us if you can hear us very well now, or a little bit louder? So yes, I'm sorry for interruption. Go ahead. You were talking about the legal shield and how you benefited from them.
Yes, I was getting ready to say that, one area right now is it's National Will Month, but this is also it's also Dhul Hijjah for the Muslims, the Hajj season, and this is a great opportunity to be able to get our wills prepared. Not having a will prepared, which is something that for us as Muslims is part of our obligation, is one of the things that can help. That's a preventive. I mean, it's not preventive for the person who's deceased, but it certainly is a prevention for our family members who then will be here after us. And so, I think that that's one of the issues, people kind of worrying, maybe not having the peace of mind, not knowing who's going to be guardian for their children, who's going to address their property and things like that. Maybe wanting even to give something or leave something to their religious center, to the mosques or whatever. Oftentimes we don't know about that. And so being able to address estate planning issues, real estate issues, job related employment issues, discrimination issues, all of those kinds of things make a huge difference, I think, for us. And then, when we know where to go to get the resources, and we can get good legal advice and guidance, but also representation when we need it, I think makes a world
That's
of difference
amazing.
in peace of
That's
mind.
absolutely, that's amazing. That's amazing because we all need attorneys at a certain point of our lives. Um,
Yes, yes.
so Maida said that the volume is better now. So thank you for making it better, a little bit louder, Dr. Nader. Thank you.
Yes, I'm
So
sorry. I was too far away from it.
no problem. So again, this is Rabab Alma, licensed marriage and family therapist and international life coach, and I am interviewing Dr. Aneesah Nadir. She is a social worker for over 40 years, and she is the president of Islamic Social Services Association USA. So throughout, and you have been practicing for a very long time, Dr. Nadir, um, do you have like a story that stands out for you, the successful one, that you can see that how preventive or being proactive really worked in that case? Of course, with protecting everyone confidentiality, but I think it's really important to talk about some successful stories that led to and it's kind of like to feel the fruit of our work in terms of helping the society and the community members, if you will.
So a couple of things that kind of come to my mind. One is the story of the young women that helped to start the Al Mu'mina organization association. I think that's a huge story, and it was a major effort within the Phoenix, Arizona community, and has made a huge difference. And so the young women, again, they were like 15 years old when we started, but then now they're young women who have children themselves, and so I think that that's a huge thing. I can, from a premarital standpoint, I'm thinking about a young couple. Um, uh, I'm not sure if yes, I work with them in providing premarital advisement, and they will both tell me now, and they have a daughter now themselves, and they're recommending premarital education for her, but they will say that some of the discussions that we had and the sessions that we had, I think, made a difference for them over those years. So I think that those are just two of them. Let me think. you know, the stories are there are many stories. You know, one of the challenges with prevention, especially around the area of premarital education, with this particular couple, it went very well. But I think one of the challenges in our society is recognizing the value of prevention.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we are more we 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 are more crisis oriented,
More
and that
reactive than proactive, if
and
you will.
yes, more reactive than proactive. And unfortunately, too often we wind up, I can tell you stories about what happens when people don't get don't get premarital education, and they rush into marriage. They have what Imam Majid calls the drive-by nikah, and they haven't done their research. They haven't talked about the expectations and the challenges that they may face and how they're going to address them. And in a short period of time, they are divorced, you know, or, you know, there was one situation, yes, that comes to mind. And again, this was a situation of kind of what not to do, where a man came to our area, wanted to marry. There wasn't sufficient references, and actually I can think of maybe three different incidences where this occurred, and there wasn't sufficient vesting, if you will, and sufficient education around the expectations and all of that. So who the person was, but also expectations. And those marriages did not end up well. And so this is what happens, I guess, when we don't have it. But when we do, I have seen situations, of course, where when we have the good education, we've got good communication skills, we have good conflict resolution skills, then the couples have been more positively affected, their families have been more positively affected, and we've had better marital outcomes.
Yeah, so when we don't do our homework, actually, we get
Mhm.
penalized.
I hate to say that, but we certainly face those challenges
Yeah,
that, you know, we would prefer not to have and are better not to have in marriage. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. When I say penalize, I meant like there are consequences when we don't really do
Yeah,
our homework. You know,
yeah,
in
yeah.
school, in our private life, in our marriages. I think in all of these relationships, I think they are hard work. We need to invest in order to get the result. Result don't just come like that. We need to work for them in order to attain them, if you will.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what are your professional plans, Dr. Nader?
Oh, that's a good question. So,
Future, professional future plans, I meant, yeah.
yes, yes. Well, you know, since I'm officially retired from teaching, but I keep working. I see myself today as a social entrepreneur.
Mhm.
I am both a social worker and a business person. So I've
Mhm.
kind of combined the two of those. And you know, as a young social worker, there would no, I mean, to utter the word business would have been almost blasphemous. Like, how dare us, you know, talk about that, because you know, for-profit and nonprofit just never went together. But one of the things that I've come to realize is that in order for our nonprofits to be successful, we need to be able to work well with our for-profits. And I think also we need to have more of an entrepreneurial spirit in the way that we address even our social services, if you will.
Yes.
And so I have I'm very passionate about the work I'm doing to help people learn about preventive legal services and to be able to get affordable access to attorneys all across this country. I'm also very passionate about the work that I do with the Islamic Social Services, which is volunteer work that we've been doing, and looking forward to the 20th anniversary celebration in Arizona next year,
Yes.
and certainly
Yeah.
want to take a moment to invite your audience to join us. That will be April, the celebration will be Friday, April 5th, inshallah. But prior to that, we're also going to have the 11th Muslim Mental Health Conference here in the Phoenix, Arizona area.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so in the
That's
foreseeable, Yes,
That's
absolutely. In the
amazing.
near
Yeah.
future,
That,
it is. I'm so excited about that, and we're looking forward to having Muslim mental health professionals as well as mental health professionals of other faith traditions and backgrounds join us for that 11th Muslim Mental Health Conference, and then stay with us to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Islamic Social Services Association. So
so
over
maybe
the
you can put
next
the notes. You can put that in the notes afterwards, so people can get to the link and they can join and hopefully.
I'll be happy to do that.
Yes,
Yes, I'll
please.
be
Yeah,
happy.
that would be amazing. Maida said, "Can you be my mentor, please?" so, so,
Well,
so,
that's one of the things that we're working on with the Islamic Social Services Association. I was in Philadelphia in July, and I got to meet one of our early board members. Now she is an advisor on with for Legal Shield. I mean, for the Islamic Social Services
oh,
Association, Sister Iman. El Qadi, and we talked about mentorship. And that's one of the things I've enjoyed doing over the years, but we're looking to pull together a kind of a more formalized mentorship program
wonderful.
for those in social work and other areas of human services. So yeah, we can talk about that. I look forward
Yeah.
to it.
So
So
you're talking about July. Are you talking about the Muslim Black conference, mental health conference? It was here in
so,
close to.
so last So this past July, I was in Philadelphia for the Muslim
Mhm.
Wellness Conference, and that's when I got to meet
Oh,
Sister
okay.
Iman Al-Qadi. But our conference, the Muslim Mental Health Conference for 2019, will be in Inshallah in Arizona in April 4th through 6th, and then the Islamic Social
Yeah.
Services Association 20th anniversary will be here on April 5th, inshallah.
Wonderful. You're talking about entrepreneurship, and this is actually what I started also. Like I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I understand the importance of entrepreneurship, being a coach and a consultant, and helping others. Some people don't really need to have a therapist or a mental health professional, but they need this mentorship, or they need this consultant, or this guidance along the way, whether in their life or in their businesses. And I think it's important to utilize this knowledge and experiences to help others in the community. So yes, that's amazing. So how can people reach you? How can people contact you, Dr. Nadir?
So I'm certainly on Facebook. So you can look for me, Aneesah Nadir. I certainly have my personal page. I have my business page for Dr. Aneesah Nadir and Associates, and a business page for my work with Legal Shield. So you can certainly feel free to look for me there. You can certainly email me or call me, and I'll leave that information in the
In the
comment
comment
section
section.
for you.
So I want
Mhm.
to apologize. I'm calling you Dr. Aneesah Nadir, and it's Aneesah Nadir. So I apologize.
No,
I
that's
think
okay.
it's the Arabic
I think you're
pronunciation of the word. So I don't like to
I
mess up
think you're
people's
more
last
right.
names or first names.
Alhamdulillah. Both are
Yeah,
fine.
thank you for your generosity and for your time and for joining us. This you have provided, a very very important information to everyone, and I hope everyone, will be able to make it to the celebration in Phoenix, Arizona, in 2019. That's amazing. So at the end of this life, I want to thank you so much, and for this, valuable time with us. And if you like, for the audience, if you like this live, please like and share. There are plenty of important information in this live that everyone can benefit from. I will download this live on YouTube video and place it on the comment section. Make sure to view it, to subscribe to it, and if you would like to get in contact with Dr. Nadir, please feel free to contact her. She will put her information in the comment section. And until I meet you on Friday with Dr. Farjana Khan, thank you so much, Dr. Aneesah Nadir. I really appreciate it. And have a wonderful evening. And thank you for the audience. I don't see any other questions, so we can conclude now. And I want to thank you so much for your time and for your valuable information.
Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity to work with you. I look forward to working with you more in the future, inshallah.
Absolutely, me too. The same here. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. I appreciate it.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.